So hello everyone, nice to meet you, all great people who are doing great job daily to help animals in your countries. And I feel I want to start with gratitude actually, because I know that many of your organizations are helping Ukraine from the start of the war. And many people write us that Ukrainians are brave and you're proud of us and etc. But it works actually both ways. And when each of you is supporting Ukrainians and with many ways, having the stripe on your hand with our colors, sending donations, speaking loud about us, it inspires us back as well. So thanks a lot for being with us in this situation, which is obviously something anyone could ever expect. So that's just one photo of our event. It's Animal Rights March, which UAnimals is organizing every year in September. And just in Kyiv, we gather between 4,000 and 6,000 of people. The last Animal Rights March hold place also in 30 other cities of Ukraine. And basically it shows the rest of the work we and other organizations do. So from 2016 we managed to do a lot, I would say, and some of the cases are the Ukrainian designers, around more than 30 of them from Ukrainian Fashion Week, who refused using fur. Around 30 cities who accepted on the local level the ban of circuses, moving circuses with animals, and we were super close to the national ban, but then the war started. Plus, we were working on the law, which was already which passed through and which is working now, so which bans the photo shoot with animals. It makes more strict administrative responsibility for people who do animal abuse, and it has like a lot of parts which make a lot protects animals more strongly. So before war, that's what we've done. And then on the 24th of February, very suddenly we woke up everyone knowing that nothing gonna happen, that nothing is going to be the way it was before. So that's just one of the many photos which look like a nightmare. People lose their homes, they need to evacuate themselves, they need to save their life, and they're grabbing their animals by themselves, with themselves. We focus like UAnimals from the very first day. To be honest, I have no clue how we did it, because already after first and second months, then you realize that first months you basically lived in a huge stress. And that's a very strange story for me as the person who manages the processes inside of the team, like COO, that even though it's a super stressful situation, we reacted from the very first day, including the fact that the half of a small team we had to move to another countries. The other half had to sit in the bomb shelters to save their lives, so they didn't have any internet connection. But somehow new people came to the team, and somehow from the very first day, we started to help first people with information. So we organized very quickly the call center, and we had around 1,000 of messages coming every day. So it was a huge work giving people the simple information, how can they cross the border, what they should do in the case something happens with animal, and etc. So we work with all kinds of animals. Of course, we have a lot of information about cats and dogs, basically because there is more cats and dogs in Ukraine, and they're easier to help. But everything we can do for our farm animals, for wild animals, We do this all. So coming back to the first day, already on the 25th of February, we had a report on our page about what we've done. So after that, we took it as a rule. And if you go to UAnimals pages, which we have actually right now in English as well, you will see that every day we have an open report with information, pictures of what we've done, whom we saved, fed, evacuated, and etc. Plus financial report, which is super transparent and open. And I think that this is one of the things which actually help us bring new people, bring celebrities to what we do, because people simply trust us. So yeah, we continue doing this. That's just one of the cases. So what changed? First, new people arrived to the team. We started this call center. And now we have several projects. I will talk about them, showing the examples of certain animals and then showing the scale of how it really looks like in a half of a year. So this is just one of the cats. Her name is Masa, with the leg, you see. And she was found after, for a while, the region around Kyiv was occupied. It was more than 1 month. So after that, she was found, and people thought it was hit by a car, but the vet said that it was a bullet shot. And we basically did the rehabilitation of this animal, one of hundreds and thousands we helped to. Then the food delivery, we have the storage in 2 cities, in Kyiv and in Lviv. Lviv, it's the west of Ukraine, which is comfortable for donors to come and to bring it, and it is relatively safe. So then we deliver this food to different shelters, and we actually focus on the worst cases and the worst territories. It's something we have always been doing as UAnimals, even before war, meaning that, for example, you can always gather donations, for example, for food and urgency. But it's very complicated to explain people why they have to donate, for example, to create a bigger cage for a lion which was saved, or to build a place for a bear, yes, which was saved from a circus or whatever. So such kind of infrastructural things, they are mostly very complicated to search for fundraising. So UAnimals, by having the big audience, it's something we take on ourselves. Same with food delivery and the rest of the things. So we focus first on the territories which are occupied. Of course, mostly it's not possible to go there, to bring food there, and to bring out animals. But somehow our wonderful team manages, and very often we find the way. Sometimes it's with Red Cross, sometimes it's with some drivers who bring their food to the stores. Sometimes it's through militarians, but somehow we find a way, and we try to do this as well. So after occupied territories, because of course they're having bad times, very often Russians, they kill animals just for fun. We have a lot of cases like that. Plus, if it's relatively not that dangerous and people can go, for example, to the shop and buy food, then the price is like at least twice high, and people don't have income, so they can't feed themselves and can't feed animals. So of course it's the worst case. After occupied territories, we go to the places where they have heavy fightings. Already after that, places nearby, only then we work with animals and people who, for example, moved from one region to another and took animals with themselves. And already after that, if we have a resource, financial, time, people, then we can help to others. So these are just one of the cases. There were 17 dogs in one of the eastern shelters. So it's a very small shelter. Basically, a woman decided to save some lives. And at the moment when she reached UAnimals so-called call center, as it works through Facebook basically, and now already from our website, she fed those dogs with the leftover of wheat, which she has found near the machine harvesting areas, which is like gathering harvest, plus some potatoes. So that's basically how they survived. So we helped them and like thousands of others. I would say what is one of the strongest part of this delivery story is that we have the whole database of all Ukrainian shelters, starting from small to big, and mostly when donors are searching for shelters to help, they found the biggest. So they all know cities, for example, in Kyiv. So all of them send funds and food and everything there. And then there are like thousands and hundreds of smallest one, which are not very good using internet, promote themselves, and etc., so no one knows them. So we try to balance it. Also, we cooperate with other organizations who also help animals, and we know where the need is real, and we know how it really looks from inside, because sometimes when people are under stress, even if they have food for like 1 month, they will anyway ask you for more because they're afraid they will not have later. So that's something you need to control and to know about this like human factor. A big part of this food delivery is actually food for horses, and that's another part which you never expect. What I mean, like basically stables are the places, if it's not a rehabilitation center for horses, yes, if it's a normal stable, that's a place which uses animals for like people's fun. All you know, they don't feel good there. But when war started, we realized that those with whom we had been fighting before, sometimes it's someone who will need help, because then anyway we talk everywhere that, that's not a good case to use horses like for riding them for sports and etc. But anyway, you need to choose and help them now and here, because they basically don't have any other possibility to survive. One of the dogs was a very sad story. She was abandoned like 3 times, 1 people second, and she has this leg hurt. But again, after the shock already was not as strong, after the 3rd months of the war, I suppose, we realized that the amount of animals in the street is huge. Lots of animals were evacuated abroad. Then shelters we worked with, they said, guys, we're full. So the shelters in Ukraine tell the same. Everywhere they're over full. And we realized that it's something we need to continue. For some people, it could, like they heard, it's not the time for it, more urgency. But we realize if we don't do this right now, that will be a disaster later. So we have the sterilization program. Now it's more than 30 cities, so that's Ukraine. And if you see the east, those posts, and the south, these are occupied territories. So we managed somehow to find local activists there, and even there this program works. Evacuation. Some of you know this person. This is Petya Petrova, and she was working for PETA for a long time and for other organizations protecting the rights of animals and people as well. So nowadays she's working with UAnimals team, and she is one of our 2 evacuation groups. I was just speaking with guys that it's also something you never expect, like in HR department, that one day for your colleagues you will have to order vests which will save their life. That's what my team was recently doing. We were buying vests for them because they obviously risk their lives, and very often they go to super dangerous places, but if they know there is an animal which needs to be saved, they go. This is, her favorite goat, was living in one family on the east. Then when the territory was occupied, they decided to leave for abroad, and they asked their neighbors to look for this animal. Then Ukrainian army made this territory free and they came back, but they were coming back from the side which was still under shelling, and unfortunately the owners were killed. So this goat left alone, and nowadays we took it, and she happily lives in one of the sanctuaries, which nowadays UAnimals is paying a lot of attention to. I was starting to tell about this place and talking about different types of animals we are helping to feeding, evacuating, healing, and etc. Even being in animal rights for so many years, I never knew that in Ukraine we had so many, guess who? Who would not you expect in Ukraine? Guys, lions. I don't know what is in people's minds, but this is the type of, man who want to look better by having a lion at home. And it's already 6 months, and every time, I don't know, there is no period when we don't have lions evacuated. A week ago, we evacuated 6 of them to one of the colleagues in Europe, and then we sent them abroad to the best sanctuaries, South Africa, and etc. And we still have 5 of them left just now in Kiev. And mostly these are all coming already not from zoos, because those who already gave their wild animals from zoos, they're over. So these are all private hands, just people who are keeping animals at homes for fun and etc. This is actually, I was talking about stables. This is a ruined stable. And Russians are shooting in everyone and everywhere, including farms, including zoos, for fun, as I said already. So financial support, sometimes it's the most quick way to do it, because, for example, sending food, it also takes time, logistics. Sometimes we have fuel problems, not now, happily, but we had it in Ukraine for quite a long period. But we have the post, which is working very well, and sometimes we can send it, but it's still more resources, and sometimes it's quicker to help by finances. So that's what we do. We check every shelter, every person. We have like this kind of system my colleagues created to check if they are real, yes, how really many animals they have. Then they send us reports, and if report is okay, we can do more. So that's also what we do. And rebuilding, we believe the victory will be very soon, and those territories which are already deoccupied, we rebuild shelters which were ruined there. This is Gostomel shelter, and you see this very beautiful new roof and nice walls and everything. So that's the one which was without any possibility to reach it for more than 1 month. And the story which is stuck in my head, and the picture which is stuck in my head forever, is connected actually with this shelter. This was a picture of the ice which they had to melt to feed animals during the occupation period. That's Kiev region, the small village called Gostomel, or the small city called Gostomel. And when people are asking me, like, what problems do you have right now in your organization to solve? I believe that there's no problem which you can solve if you have hands, head, and the opportunity. And the only problem is when you have this all, but you have the obstacles outside of you which not let you do this. And that's what we actually felt, because the territory, as I said, was occupied for more than 1 month. And all green corridors which people created were shut by Russians, so they did not work. They broke like all the possible and impossible rules. So the electricity system of this shelter was damaged, and without electricity they could not have water, and without having water they could not feed animals, plus the feed they had was smaller and smaller and smaller. So basically it was very complicated to have resources, have hands, the ability to find like car driver, people who desire to go there, but you simply could not, and all you can do is just sit and wait. And right now there are some cities which are the same. We don't know what is happening there, we don't have connection, and we just wait until it will be free. So yeah, we rebuild some of these shelters, several, and we continue working on that. And it's not also all about cats and dogs. We help to others which save domestic so-called animals, farm animals. And also we have very beautiful, huge sanctuaries with wild animals. And that's also what they do. So these are like certain cases, one by one. In the end, it grows to these numbers, which you can see. So it's in kilos, the amount of feed which was sent. So we do it daily, every day. Then 85,000 of animals which were fed, both wild and domestic. And that's also an interesting, talking about management side, yes, interesting thing which we provided in our team. First, we were counting like kilos, I don't know, what else, amount of money we've sent, amount of money we've spent, and etc. But then we realized that's wrong. The proper thing to count is the amount of animals you helped, because sometimes you can spend 5 hours helping to evacuate, I don't know, one hen or one whomever, or save the life, or you can spend same amount of hours, like 5 hours, and in this period help hundreds of animals, for example. And as the resource is limited, we need to make this choice. So for us, it's a kind of orientation we choose. So every time we choose what to do, which region to help, where to go, what animals to help. Normally, it's about the amount. What can we do with the resource we have? So yeah, I suppose you've already read of that. 3,500 animals were neutered, and now it's 29 cities. That's the amount we've spent actually providing this help. As the UAnimals team significantly grew, the amounts of animals we saved significantly grew with this, and the donations we're gathering also grew. And it may think, I don't know if it's a big amount for you or no, but for us it is a huge amount of money. But anyway, for the problems we have, we need much more to save them, to solve them in the correct way, because war really has its rules and we need to follow them. And some inspiration, already my colleagues were talking about people, and I do believe that Ukrainian society will be even more humane after war, because when you feel pain so long and when you see the pictures so horrible, I believe the empathy somehow grows. But every story we have about a new soldier who is saving the animal is heartbreaking, because, for instance, this man with the kitten in his hands, he texted UAnimals also saying, and he was in like one of the most terrible regions for now, so he texted saying about those kittens, and Petya I showed before, she went and evacuated them. So, and when he arrived, he was actually crying, giving us those cats, because he somehow became close to them. And when we offered him to leave some food to feed animals on their way, he refused, saying that you will always find some animals to feed, but we buy it. Like, no worries, we buy it, we have it, like in our, I don't know what they use to move, but anyway. So we have a huge amount of stories like that. That the statistics, sorry, the lack of the time didn't allow me to translate it, but I will tell you what's that. So this is actually the study which we had recently in Ukraine, not UAnimals, but the other organizations, about how people choose brands to support, to buy. And number one is if the brand, it may be like whatever, not connected with any topic, if it helps to Ukrainian army. Number two, if the brand is still working in Russia, meaning that if it's not working, they don't support. If it's working, they don't support. If it's not, if it's gone out of the market, they support. Then if it is having any volunteer activity, then the political position must be clear. The next one is the language which the brand is using for communication, because as you know, in Ukraine we speak both Ukrainian and Russian, which was pretty okay for a long time, but nowadays to have a victory and to have a lot of force to fight, those things, they are changing as well, bringing more identity, more patriotism to people. So for many people it becomes really important. Then it's help to kids, and the next one is the help to animals. So basically the middle one, it's 12%. This is the help to animals. And this was super surprising, because always when we have investigations on how many people, even before war, how many people who do any kind of charity, what they pay attention for, and animals are always somewhere in the end. And now, in the middle of the victory, in the middle of, I don't know, okay, let it be the middle of the victory, like during this wartime, we realized that this is super important for people. So meaning that the society is really humane, and yes, they really do care about what is happening with animals. So yeah, just to let you know, after animals, there are already some important topics like ecology, like families who don't have the income, the support of educational programs, and etc. So animals stand before that, and I believe it's very inspirational for all of us. And these are the words of Mahatma Gandhi. We used to use a lot actually in our social advertisements, speeches, and so on, that the greatest of nation and its moral progress can be judged by the way its animals are treated. And I believe that if we think about this during the war, it makes it really stronger, because during the war, people have to think how to survive. They lose jobs, they have daily possibility to die because of attacks and etc. But they do think about animals, and they do treat them in a very good way. So that really inspires me, and I believe after victory we will have lots of very good new laws accepted. So how you can help? These are our sources. First one is a website and Facebook and our English page. And nowadays we realize that we have to work a lot with people and organizations all over the world, because obviously the resource of Ukrainian businesses, people's incomes, and etc. is becoming smaller and smaller. So we need your support. It's really true. So the best thing you can do for animals in Ukraine is to go to those pages, to sign on them, and to make the post on your personal pages, on the pages of your organizations, which would link to our organizations, because because we need more people to know what is really happening and to help in the way they want to help. Information, donations, that's the biggest of what you can do. And thank you for being here today, and I will be ready to answer your questions.
Thank you so much. We already have a few questions. We strongly recommend you to go to Eventory app and ask your own questions. But starting with the first one, you mentioned that there is more cats in Ukraine. Do you mean that there is more cats than any other animals? What's the estimated number of cats in Ukraine?
The bad thing that before war, we also did not know the amount of cats and dogs and other animals which we have in the streets. Unfortunately, that's the lack of the gap in the law. So if we didn't know it before, we don't know it right now as well. So any number I would say would be not true, so I would choose not to say the number. What I meant by having more cats than anyone else, meaning that, for instance, if you go to our pages and read the daily report, and mostly we have around from 6 to 10 cases we helped during the day. So among these 6, probably 4 will be about cat and dogs. 2 will be about wild animals and about so-called farmed animals, just because farmed animals are those who are harder to reach, and wild animals are not the ones who are walking in the streets of Ukraine. So that's why these are like the category which is easier, quicker, and which is bigger to help.
What is the biggest gratification you get from working with UAnimals?
Meaning?
What is the most heartwarming moments, for example?
Heartwarming. I am super inspired by the team we have. And recently there was a new place for work vacancy, yes, I suppose in English. And I went to the website where you post the possible job possibility. And then I went to this area where you type the information about the company. And before, I filled this part before war. And it said that there is like the company which has 0 to 5 workers in it. Nowadays, we have around 30 people who work in UAnimals. And these people are all really amazing and bringing a lot of heart, a lot of effort, a lot of action in what they do. So I encourage you to sign for UAnimals because we have a lot of, for example, very creative projects. We have a lot of videos with, nowadays even with Hollywood stars. Recently, the actor who played in Harry Potter filmed for us the video, and many others. So being creative, finding all the time new ways to reach the audience more and to bring more attention to the problems of animals in Ukraine, that's really what inspires. And if we already started to talk about people, I want to say that people actually want to be the part of solution. And being with UAnimals for people is their possibility to act and to do something big, something meaningful. Some of them lose their job. Many people, when they come to volunteer or to work to UAnimals, they say that before war I was this and that, but now I realize I want to do something meaningful. So I want to be with you. I'm ready to do it for free. Like, just give me such a chance. So yeah, that's really inspires. It works both ways. Like, we as an organization, we need people, but people need us to have the hands to act. And that's the same for donors all over the world. Basically, UAnimals, it's a service for you, which helps you help animals in Ukraine, with just in the middle part. So yeah, I would suppose people, my team, it's what really inspires. And all these cases when people under shelling, but they can leave their homes, but they're not leaving the shelter, and they stay there till the end. We have many stories like that already, but it's never normal. It surprises you every time. That also inspires me.
Do you feel like the animal rights movement in Ukraine is more united now and willing to collaborate than before the war?
Maybe, yes, maybe partly it works so, because probably I felt this most of all when we connected to the several organizations which also do the delivery of food to shelters and volunteers, and that was the first time when we realized that we need this communication, not to double the same work to the same places. So yeah, I believe people became more simple in many ways.
You already had mentioned it slightly, but what inspires you most to help animals, even though you see all the horrible images all the time?
Well, basically, I think people in this hall, you will understand me. It's something that you're not able not to do. It's just the path you have chosen once, and you just follow it. That's it. There are many jobs I had before I came to animal rights movement, but after I have found myself in it, I strongly believe, like, I stopped searching for more, and the only thing I'm doing years and daily, and what keeps my mind, and like what is number one priority in my life. So I believe strongly that there is such very concrete and certain place for every person, and after you have found it, that's a huge bless, and the best way you can do in your life for yourself and for the world is to become more and more professional in what you do. So I don't have other options actually to go somewhere else and do something else, because simply I don't want. I feel the fulfillment with doing this. That's the way to help animals. That's all.
Has your organization had to help feed or help evacuate animals from abandoned large-scale farms?
No. We had several cases where volunteers found those large farms which were actually abandoned. We have found, for example, a cow farm with, I don't remember already the amount, but I suppose like 100 of cows over there, which actually were walking by themselves without no one looking at them and feeding them and etc., taking care of them. But after we found the contact of the owner and all the proper, meaning governmental parts which are responsible for this case, and we offered to evacuate them. We actually prepared everything, starting from the special cars which can bring those type of animals. We have found sanctuaries inside of Ukraine which agreed to take such an amount, which was a nonsense actually, because we have very few shelters which keep farm animals. So we had to search for new solutions and for maybe new shelters and organizations who didn't do it before, but they would agree to do it. Plus, we had to be confident that they will not go after that for meat or something. So it's something we have done also, but already in like few days, the owner of the farm, he appeared suddenly and said he would take care of animals and just took them. So by law, we are not able to do anything in this case, only let him do it.
Did you have an opportunity to rescue animals from fur farms?
No, just briefly, no.
How many shelters are in Ukraine?
Oh my God, that's a huge amount. I never knew we had that much. Actually, I don't have the exact number right now, but I suppose that several thousands, I don't know, maybe from 7 to 10,000, but it includes very small ones as well. So it includes big shelters like for thousands and hundreds of animals, and very small groups which are even not registered as a shelter, but they do have like from 10 and more animals. So we also count them. And that also was one of the changes we had with war, because before it was a matter of principle to help only to registered organizations, to make it all go law by law, like officially. but when war starts, you just don't care about that, and you help to those who really need it. So that's our personal rule with Skip right now, and even though the organization is not registered, but we can check it, and we can go and see by our eyes, or see the report, or whatever. We help to everyone.
This appears to be the last question, so thank you very much, and let's once again have a round of applause.
Thank you.